recipients of the Oscars. And finally, the results.
So you mean the Oscars were all nominated by a bunch of fucking assholes? That's what I'm gonna fucking say.
A bunch of fucking assholes that are like, well, we didn't want to watch movies about monkeys, but we did want to watch movies about, like space and...
Most of them didn't watch any of the animated movies. Period.
Oh, yeah. Well, why would they watch an animated movie? Animated movies are for kids. Don't you know that?
No, apparently some of the people who voted based their vote solely on what their kids thought of it.
Oh, so Big Hero number 6, because it's a superhero movie that also has a cute, fluffy...
Yeah.
Cute, bubbly robot or whatever.
Alright, do you want to start our post-Oscar podcast?
Yeah.
Alright, so this is Ren and Casey, and All Walks of Film post-Oscar discussion. Directly post.
Yeah, directly post. We recorded a lot, so some of that will probably be included in the edit.
Yeah, so my overall take is most fun the Oscars have been for a while, and simultaneously
definitely.
the most disappointing.
No, I'm not going to say it's most disappointing because the performances were so good, and
for the most part.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: the presenter, I was skeptical about Neil Patrick Harris.
I was more skeptical than you were, even, and
he blew me away.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised.
But we'll get into moments that blew us away a little bit later because let's not get into that right now.
Okay. But when it came to the actual decisions of the Academy, one of my most disappointing years. I mean, I was already disappointed just from the nominations, but then when it came down to who won what or whatever, really disappointing. I have never been more pissed off at the Oscars than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes not winning visual effects.
Oh, well, my biggest disappointment was Chicago winning all those awards. So, that's me.
That's true. I didn't see that, so that's not on my list, personally. Although I do disagree. I enjoy Chicago very much. Not Best Picture of the Year material.
Oh, not Best Picture of the Year. Yeah.
No. And I will stand up for Chicago, but not Best Picture of the Year. That is some bullshit.
Yeah, I also will say that the movie that won Best Picture of the Year wasn't even in my top 10.
Yeah, Birdman, I did not expect Birdman to be the Oscar darling, but we should have, because Birdman really swept up. It was Birdman and Grand Budapest Hotel that really swept most
I
of
was
the awards.
surprised because I wasn't expecting Grand Budapest Hotel to win.
Grand Budapest Hotel won a bunch of bullshit awards. Best hair and makeup over Guardians of the Galaxy and Foxcatcher. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Best score. Score that makes my ears want to bleed. Yeah. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Sound mixing and sound editing went to Whiplash, which I was really happy about.
No, only one went to Whiplash. It was sound mixing went to Whiplash and sound editing went to American Sniper.
I was really happy because I changed my opinion on editing, and the one who deserved best editing was the editor for Whiplash.
Yeah.
And
because editing,
we thought it was a given.
We thought Boyhood went home with one Oscar at all.
That was the biggest. That was one of the biggest.
I thought that was going to be their big darling, especially since they were such darlings at the Academy Awards.
Yeah. You mean in the Golden Globes?
Yeah, the Golden Globes. Swept house in the Golden Globes. I totally thought the Oscars would be all over it. They went home with exactly one Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. And that is it. They did not get anything else.
Which was well-deserved, but at the same time, how does Boyhood not win Best Picture?
Best Picture or Best Director.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
I personally think that Inarritu, I know that you like the film a lot, but I personally think that Inarritu is a little pretentious, and the movie itself
I came
is
out of the movie a
pretentious.
little disappointed even.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... most of what I give it credit for is being something different. They tried something different to varying degrees of success,
Yeah.
but I tend to reward originality maybe a little bit more than I should. But I'm just really interested in, like, pushing boundaries and doing something that's not... boring.
Yeah, but
I've seen it before. Been done to death. So, mostly I give it props for that. But we should have expected it because the movie, in essence, is all about actors, theater business, and pissing on comic book movies.
Yeah.
Which is entirely what the Oscars are about.
Right.
That's like
And
everything the Oscars are into.
I think part of my disappointment with Birdman was the fact that we watched it with an audience that was completely flat.
Oh my god, they were like... so
worst audience
stupid.
ever. I mean,
Yeah.
like... I mean, can you think of a movie that had a worse audience? Other than Selma and the fucking phone ringing and all that shit.
Well, there was just a lot of extraneous noise. It's not like the actual audience talking or not talking didn't fit the movie.
Yeah.
It was just particularly noisy.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. I
But-
really think Birdman was way worse than
Yeah,
Selma.
because
Way worse.
it's awkward to be in a theater and you're laughing and nobody else is laughing.
Yeah, the first line in the movie is, "It's hot in here. Smells like balls." That's how it opens.
Smells like balls.
Balls.
Yeah.
That's how it opens. That is funny.
And
That's funny.
yeah, so that's probably why it won best
So,
original
Gone
screenplay.
Girl, super snubbed, is in almost no nominations,
Yeah.
no wins, period.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler, one nomination, did not get it, snubbed. Lego Movie, one nomination, didn't get it, snubbed. I'm just like,
Yeah.
motherfucker. And then they tried to
Great
retroactively...
musical performances, like
Except,
the
well, yeah,
Lego
there were
movie
three...
for the movies that were
Yeah.
of this
Well,
year. Great musical performances.
For the only two that actually mattered. The
Okay.
other three were both... They're so forgettable
Right,
when
right.
you think of the musical performances, you don't even think about them, because they were so
Yeah,
bland.
well, Selma was
Selma
a
was
great
great.
Glory was
Yeah.
a great performance. I had problems with the editor. Best editing does
Yes.
not go to the Oscars this
No.
year because their editing was absolutely terrible.
Well, it
the
was-
camera angles
wait,
that they
wait,
chose
in
for
defense,
Selma were terrible.
In defense, this isn't a good defense because they rehearsed this a lot beforehand, so they should have known better.
Yeah.
But they did very standard editing. That's normally what they do, and normally it works. But this was a much vaster production. Not vaster, that's not a word, but more vast. It
It
was,
was a
much
bigger production, but I've
but it was
seen
more
them do it.
grandiose.
I've seen them do. I've seen them film
I
better.
think they thought people might get bored, which I think is wrong. I
What,
think it's wrong
when
for
you
them
just
to think that.
when you just focus on
But it's...
the singer, when there's all this stuff going on in the background.
No, I'm saying
And-
I think they would have thought that the audience would be bored with all the stuff in the background.
Bullshit.
No,
Because
I
people
agree
are
that's
fucking
bullshit.
crying, and I would have had that experience too had I
Yeah,
seen the
the
full
editing
experience.
fucked up our actual experience of the performance. So
Yeah,
boo
and-
on them, for
And
sure.
if you listening to this, if you know of an edited clip that is better than what we got, please, for the love of God,
Maybe
show
Ben
me.
Affleck has it. Because apparently he had his phone in front of his face the whole night. The one time he saw, or like the second, there were only 2 times he saw Ben Affleck in the audience, and the
Yeah.
second time they cut to Ben Affleck, he has the phone right in front of his face. It was super awkward. So maybe he got it on his cell phone and he'll put it on
Yeah,
YouTube.
totally. I would love to see Ben Affleck's footage,
Yeah,
because-
that would be great.
yeah, it would
That would be
great.
much better than what we saw.
Yeah,
It's
just
sad.
really poorly edited. And then, what's the name of the singer that won?
John Legend?
John Legend. Yeah, I mean it was way too indulgent with John Legend. Which his speech though was amazing.
Both of their speeches, they both gave speeches and
Yeah.
they were both very good, but like emotionally they were great. But they actually like said some shit I didn't even fucking know. Like what they said was actually important. Like they probably
Yeah.
had, out of anything you need to see, you probably, just for the sake of what you need to understand about living in America, you need to see their speech.
Right.
and then learn more
but there were
on your own.
There were
But
two
that's
speeches.
fantastic.
There were two speeches that left me floored. That and the adapted screenplay writer for The Imitation Game. His speech left me floored. The fact that he admitted to thinking about suicide.
Right. We felt very differently about that speech.
So, go and tell me, what did you think of that speech?
I mean, it was kind of awkward. It's a little awkward to take this moment to be like, hey, so I'm going to take a minute and tell you my whole life story. Here's all my personal stuff.
So-
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's bad or like he shouldn't have, because that is a big thing to be vulnerable, and what he was trying to get across is a very important thing to get across. But it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay. It's more of just like a lack of subtlety to it. But it's because it's such a quick time frame. Like, I'm not faulting him for it, and he seems really young, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm not really faulting him for his speech. It was just a little clumsy to talk about something like suicide.
I do think that, and I could be wrong, but I do think that
I think he was great, probably.
He had some mannerisms, which he should have included, if that is the case, if he is gay, he should have included that in the speech, because the whole movie is about...
yeah, because it's the Imitation Game, yeah. I agree for that reason, but I'm not saying shame on him for his speech. It was very good of him for him to do it. It was just a little weird, so... whereas the other one was tight and polished and like, boom, there you go. So, but
speaking of speeches, normally when people get played off, they eventually cut the mic off and the people have to go. They didn't do that this year, and I think that will change next year.
People were out talking the get off the stage music, and when the Singers for Glory were on stage giving their speeches, I was hoping to God, don't you fucking dare play the get off the stage music for them.
Yeah.
Like, that is just, like, ethically wrong.
Yeah.
For you to do that in the middle of their speech.
What was the one that was really annoying? Because the guy kept on going and going and going. I think it was the first one. Yeah.
It was a few people.
It was like, how many fucking people do you gotta name? I mean, I know that you worked with the crew.
It was the first guy who out-talked the music, but I don't remember who it was.
Well, he out-talked it like twofold almost.
Yeah, because the music started it got louder and louder and louder, and then it stopped, and then he kept going, and then they played the music again, and this time he actually laughed. Yeah.
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 I know you get excited when you go up on stage, but
it's just such an that's also, it's different when you're not an actor or a performer of any sort, and especially if you're a role where you're not even used to speaking for the press. Like, directors and cinematographers, they do interviews, they talk in public, but if you're something else, like I don't remember what it was.
Inarritu, man, like I bet working on set with him is enjoyable, but difficult just because of the language barrier.
His speech was...
His speech isn't as bad, but I'm just saying...
No, it's not as bad as I think even you think it is. Because I'm comparing... He came on stage and he was like, wow, you're making me give this speech when I speak the worst English here. The director of The Artist, which, nothing against the director... I have a plush doll of this director. I love him this much.
The Artist is a French movie
I know.
with a couple American actors.
No, I know, but he had to give a speech. And when he gave his speech, he spoke far less English than Inarritu did.
Right.
And it's not a fault against him, but it's just like, the language barrier's not that hard.
Right.
And especially with English and Spanish.
Yeah.
I was very confused about something. Maybe you can clear this up for me. So Neil Patrick Harris said that Emmanuel Lubezki won for cinematography. No duh. So now he's 2 for 2, or dos for dos, but 2 for 2.
He's been twice nominated, twice won.
No, because he didn't win for Tree of Life, correct? Wasn't
Right,
he nominated and
but
he
he
didn't
was
win?
nominated. He was nominated and won the last time he was nominated, which was
So
for
it's
Gravity.
more like 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, see that's different because I was like, but he hasn't only been nominated twice. He's been nominated more than twice and has not won. So I got very confused by that. Because I thought he meant like he was nominated twice and won twice.
No.
So instead of like twice in a row.
Gravity was last Oscar.
Yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
So 2 for 2.
Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
what
Okay.
I'm talking about.
So yeah, Neil Patrick Harris was surprisingly enjoyable. And the opening production number, I remember a time when they did have an opening musical number that was about the movies and movie history.
I remember it was
I was-
always something with the movies.
Yeah, and the last time I saw that happen, I'm pretty sure I was 12 or 13. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
I don't remember much about
Now this is my recollection.
Right.
It's not fact.
I remember for Lord of the Rings they had Billy Crystal
Mm-hmm.
acting within the movies, and then when Jon Stewart hosted the Oscars, they had him appear in several different movies, and then it wound up with him waking next to a man, a la Brokeback Mountain.
Right. But the opening musical number was cute and enjoyable. And Jack Black getting up and singing about how bullshit the Oscars was so fun. That was fantastic. Because that's what he was doing. He was just pissing all over the fucking Oscars. In song. It was fantastic. Because I do really enjoy Jack Black as an actor. But I think he's way more well-suited for Tenacious D's type of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Way more. So that was super fun.
I enjoy him as a musical performer much more than I enjoy him as an actor.
Yeah, and I like most of his acting very, very much. But especially Bernie and School of Rock. Both Richard Linklater. I know. I was. That's why. God, Boyhood got snubbed.
Yeah, I really think so too.
Grand Budapest Hotel got all these bullshit awards.
I also
Fuck
think
the
out of
Oscars.
all the movies nominated, Boyhood is the only like family movie. Like Boyhood is the only movie that like you could watch with a whole family.
Yeah.
And
It's
everybody
not too
could get
childish and it's not too grown up.
Yeah, everybody could get an enjoyable experience watching it. Now, granted, the older you are, I think the more you'd appreciate it just because of
Yeah,
it
like a
looking
kid won't
back.
have the same understanding, but
Right.
they can enjoy it and like a lot of things in it. I think.
Yeah. I mean, 3 hours is kind of hard for some kids, but
Yeah, that's true.
even though kids are fucking binge watching shows all the fucking time, and binge watch a show or watch a 3-hour movie, which one are you actually watching more of?
Well, for a
Yeah.
kid, the break, even if it's just like a little break, does add a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to sustain your attention and your concentration because you get a break and then you can sort of reset.
Yeah.
I know because when I was a kid, I had a problem, like a legitimate problem with binge watching, to the point where my parents actually were like, "You're not gonna watch TV anymore.
Yeah.
You can watch, I think it was like an hour. You can watch maybe 1 hour a day, and that's it."
Yeah.
Which might sound horrible, but that is like seriously one of the best decisions they ever made for me. Because
My-
otherwise, I would have no life as a kid.
My parents had what they called screen time, and that included video games and
Okay.
and movies and stuff like that. Now, I was allowed to watch a movie even if I had screen time because my parents did want me to experience, the full experience of a movie and not just, oh, well, you get this amount of time. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad that they did that because that actually got me to watch more movies, and I wouldn't be pursuing the field that I am if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah. And when I was a little kid, I was a slave to the TV. It was unhealthy. And I'm talking about like maybe, I think 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I think it was like 3 and 4 and 5 was an issue. So
I
then
did have-
they had to cut me off a little
I
bit.
did have video game problems, where like I would
Yeah.
just sit around and play video games all the time.
Yeah,
but,
like
I
they
had a
honor
hard
my video
childhood.
games, but that's because I wasn't as addicted to it.
Yeah, I think that's a more male thing, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I
Um,
played my Game Boy a lot, but it
yeah.
was always things like Tetris or Frogger
Yeah.
where I could play in short increments and I
Yeah.
was fine.
and just as I say that, the reason why I said that's more of a male thing is that is changing now, which we have talked about in
Right.
various other podcasts that we've done. But when I was growing up, not a lot of young girls played video games.
Well, yeah, it's a thing that's kind of changing with the
Yeah.
times. But back to the Oscars, I guess. So Neil Patrick Harris was surprisingly fun.
Yeah.
Great musical performance. But biggest surprise of the Oscars,
Oh.
and even me, big time defender. Like I could have told you that this would happen, but even I was flummoxed. I was totally floored. Lady Gaga singing The Sound of Music,
Mhm.
like a Sound of Music medley. And I immediately, when I heard that that's what she was going to do, I was like, oh, no. And she said like one line, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
And what was my reaction?
Well, you were playing it up for comedic effect.
Well,
but
my
your
jaw
dropped.
was dropped for about half of it, mainly because I was not expecting
Well, you have...
that kind of range from Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you
I do have
don't
a
know her
bias
as well
against.
as I do, and you are much more biased towards her. I usually defend her because I do know she's technically talented, but even the like classically trained Lady Gaga that I've seen is nothing compared to what we just saw.
Yeah, well,
Not even to that
watched,
level. That was amazing.
I watched it, and
Fake
my
accent aside.
takeaway from it. Now, I will tell you that I'm not well versed in Lady Gaga, so please forgive me if I'm wrong about this. But my take on this was, wow, Lady Gaga has such a massive potential that she has not tapped into as far as her pop icon goes.
No, I agree, and I've told you this before, but our viewers may not know that a big part of it is that Lady Gaga doesn't do a lot to refine her music, because a lot of what she writes it out once, and that's what she goes with, and that's like that shows how much potential she really has. That her first instinct is that good, but it could be so much better if she could revise and polish more.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah, because a lot of songs she talks about, she just sat down and wrote it in 10 minutes. Or she ad-libbed in the music booth, which is phenomenal. Like, that's incredible that she can just come up with whole songs on the fly, and they're already great enough to put on the radio. But she could be so much more if she worked. It's hard to say work more because she works so hard. But if she just revised and polished more. Even though that's not what she does. I know, but...
No. But
And she was very subdued and refined.
Yeah,
Very beautiful.
I-
Just like a very elegant... Which I've seen her do elegant before, but not with this range and scale of just...
right.
Wow.
And she was really the knockout performance of the night.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I like the Selma performance, I will say that...
Technically, it was not to the level.
Yeah, and all my hate towards that only goes to the editing. It was very
only
powerful.
the editing. Yeah.
It was very powerful, but this over the top, and it just seemed that the person was incompetent who was behind.
They weren't incompetent. They were
No, they were-
no. They were technically competent. They were not intuitive.
No, they weren't.
They didn't know how to adjust
And they should
to
have
what
had.
they were looking at.
The person must not have had as much experience doing this, but it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga, on the other hand, wow.
Like,
Amazing.
beautiful and refined and subdued. And
Yeah.
one thing, this is not a criticism of Glory. This is a criticism of the other songs.
Mhm.
But why the fuck was Glory, which is like this powerful song of like, justice and glory and rap, softer than the song called Grateful?
Yeah.
And it was Grateful and Lost Stars were both so much more like
Yeah, and
then like so much harsher and abrasive than the song that actually should have been.
I will say
deserved
that
it more.
I will say that there is a love for a kind of abrasive R&B singing style.
Yeah, but for
and
someone called
I personally I'm not a huge fan of it, mainly because I think it's overplayed.
It is overplayed, and I saw Rita Ora, and the only thing I know her from, I think it's Rita Ora or something like that. The only thing I know her from is fucking Black Widow by Iggy Azalea. That's the only thing I know her from. I saw her, I was like, oh, hell no. But the song is called Grateful, and I was listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics were very nice. Like, it was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing, but it was Oscar material. It was fine. Like, some of the songs they pick are just fluff. But she's talking about, I'm grateful. I can't even do it. I can't, like, even imitate it. But, like, gratitude is, like, a gentle feeling. And her vocals were way too abrasive for gratitude.
Yeah, there were some
weird.
tonal issues with
It
it.
didn't fit at all. It was super weird. I did not like that.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it either.
No. There was that one, and then there was Lost Stars, which was 100. Like I don't even remember it.
I'm
I
not
remember
attuned
it
to.
happened.
I'm not
but I don't
attuned to
remember
country.
it.
So
No, that's not even the country song.
oh,
I don't even know. I know the only reason I even know
oh,
what it's called.
is that the one that that was performed by what is that guy's name? The guy
No,
from
it's a woman.
No, the guy.
No, Lost Stars. The only reason I even know the title is because they showed it in, with these are the nominated songs.
Right.
And by process of elimination, I figured out that the only song I could not remember the lyrics to, I could not remember the artist to, and I couldn't remember the name. I figured it must have been that one. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but it was just that bland.
Maroon 5 guy. The guy who performed.
No, it wasn't even the Maroon 5 song.
Okay.
Props
up to this year for actually having performances, though,
Yeah.
because that
I
has been
totally
something
forgot
that's
about Maroon 5, though.
Yeah, that's totally something that's been lacking.
Yeah.
At the Oscars, this was a fun year. Like, it was enjoyable to actually watch them, and I think, the worst one that I ever experienced was probably the James Franco and Anne Hathaway one.
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Whether you like her or not,
yeah.
she's not very funny.
No,
or fun.
No, she's not. She's a great actor, but like
yeah,
she
I'm not criticizing her for that.
She can't carry on the stage as far as like presenting.
Apparently, she can't carry on the stage in a dramatic sense either, because apparently she's just too used to. She can't speak loud enough. Like a friend of mine saw her in some Shakespeare production, and she said it was miserable because Anne Hathaway. She couldn't hear anything Anne Hathaway said. She was too quiet.
Works on screen, doesn't work on stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Oh, not in a dirty way. That's what my friend said.
Yeah, so
super enjoyable except for the parts that I just totally forgot about. And the parts where I was just fuming because of the picks.
Let's talk about some of those fuming moments.
Okay, number one worst fucking moment of the night was fucking God. What? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes did not win visual effects, but Interstellar did.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I came out of Interstellar going, "Oh, but I love the imagery of the space because I have a soft spot for that. I grew up loving astronomy, so I was perfectly content to sit in IMAX." Looking at pictures of space. I still say, with my nostalgia and my bias, that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was so much... Like, it's a fact! As far as I'm concerned, it's fact!
Here's
that
the
it's
thing.
Better.
Like, animating over actors, capturing their performance, which a lot of their performance gets into, and I'm not giving any discredit to that, but also animating over just for the refining and all that stuff takes
it's
a
so
lot
much more
of
work.
It takes so much more work. And, hell, even though you and I both hate this movie, Transformers deserves special effects over Interstellar.
I wouldn't go that. It depends on which Transformers you're talking about.
Revenge of the Fallen.
Is that the third one? That's the third one,
That's
right?
the fourth one.
The fourth one. Okay.
That's the
yes.
one.
Okay. Okay. I'm okay with that one, sort of.
Yeah, I'm just talking about special effects. I'm not talking
know.
about the quality of the movie or anything.
No, I was just gonna say that for the first two Transformers, I would say hell no. But for the last two Transformers, you could sort of twist my arm into a little bit better.
But Dawn of the Planet of the Apes totally deserved to win.
Well, and
or
here's
even
the
fucking
thing.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy had way more visual effects than
I'm sorry, creating
Interstellar.
characters versus having
Imagery of space.
having
or
fucking,
big waves
or having
and ice country like nothing.
A cross between Hal and the fucking Monolith.
Well, there was wait. To be fair, okay, there was the whole passing into the black hole thing and the sort of weird reality that was in a circle.
Yeah.
That did require a lot of stuff. But I'm going to say something else. And it's because visual effects, technically speaking, does mean digital. And special effects is on set. However, the Oscars doesn't have a special effects category, so I sort of assume visual effects needs to be both. And if you're going to do that, Planet of the Apes far and away exceeds.
I do think
when it comes to with the digital effects and the practical effects over pretty much Interstellar only had visual effects.
I do think that there are two categories that need to expand into two more categories, but some people might complain about time for the Oscars and such. But I do think that
make your case again, because I agree with you 100%.
I think that there needs to be a separation between digital and practical effects.
Yes.
And I also think that there needs to be a separation between digitally enhanced cinematography and cinematography of actual events that unfold within the camera.
Go ahead and say your case with the Tree of Life versus Hugo, because I think that's very helpful.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the prime example is Tree of Life, which I've gone on record and saying anybody who wants to be a cinematographer or anybody who has a love of cinematography has to see this movie. I understand that Tree of Life isn't for everybody. It's a meditative piece and doesn't really have a straightforward narrative, but visually it is absolutely amazing. You can watch a 3-minute trailer online and you'll get the full effect of it. I mean, you won't get the full effect and scope of the movie, but you will see why. Just watch both trailers. Watch Hugo and then watch Tree of Life and see which one, just has a better visual sense. But people over time are getting so in love with this idea of digitally enhanced cinematography, and I don't blame them. I mean, Gravity looked beautiful, but and was actually the same cinematographer as Tree of Life. So technically, this guy should have gone for trace for trace.
And Birdman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, which he did win this year, which, all credit is due to him, but
that was a lock. There was no tension in that. Of course he was going to win.
Yeah, I mean, it was filmed in a way that I personally had a little bit of issues with, even though I love Inarritu as a cinematographer, I had a little bit of issues with the fact that the cinematography did draw a little too much attention to itself in the film. I found myself at points distracted by the fact that I wasn't cutting away. There's something about an edit that that our eyes are kind of attuned to processing, whereas it becomes distracting when there aren't clear edits.
The one thing that
even though the film is edited.
Yeah, the one thing that I will fight you on in that film is when he collapses in the street and the camera pans up and the sky gets lighter and then it pans down. I actually thought that specific... You can tell exactly how it works, but it was narratively very effective. So I thought that particular part was super helpful.
Yeah.
I thought that part was very good. So for the Oscars, two predictions of mine that got kind of foiled was I had thought Interstellar would be the one that just got handed all the throwaway technical awards just because they wanted to put awards at it, and Boyhood would take home all the awards, like the important ones. But it turned out that Grand Budapest Hotel took away all the sort of giveaway awards. And here's the thing, I'm not saying that those categories should be giveaway awards.
Production design, you know, regardless
that's the
of our
only
opinion.
one wait. Production design and costume, sure. I'm fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean...
That's fine. I'm not arguing. That's fine.
Even though we did think that Guardians of the Galaxy deserved it better, at least it didn't go to something that...
Guardians of the Galaxy was...
Sorry, makeup.
Makeup.
Yes.
Yes, makeup, but that's not one of those two categories. Foxcatcher deserved way fucking better than Grand Budapest Hotel.
Those were the
only 3 things nominated.
That was one person made up.
I know, but that was still better than their really bullshit beat up face that they kept showing. That was some bullshit makeup art.
Tilda Swinton was actually pretty decent, I thought. The old woman, Tilda Swinton.
That's fine, but there was one shot that they kept showing with this dude with his face all beat up and he's in prison. Mm-hmm. So I can judge it from that one. Yeah, I can judge that clip, and that is... It's not bad, but it's so basic. Like, it's so amateurishly done. You can tell it's makeup.
Yeah, you can totally...
The quality is nothing. Like, no. Compared to Guardians of the Galaxy on one hand and Foxcatcher on the other. And you could have gone for either of those and that would have been fine. But you went for Grand Budapest Hotel just because you don't give a shit. Academy Awards. And I'm going to say that when you specifically come out and say that most of the people on your board haven't seen some of the movies, like, for real, that's your whole fucking job. It's your job to watch movies. How hard is that? Oh, but we're grown-ups. We don't really want to watch animated films.
Yeah, I mean...
How hard is it to just sit down and watch a movie as your career?
Well,
you're a professional film watcher. Just fucking do it.
Well, excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all smell like shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean... I personally think that the Academy needs to change, and also we had made bingo, and we had made a little game on Oscar predictions. Neither of us won the actual bingo, but one of my predictions was that nobody was going to comment on Selma getting snubbed.
No, they tried to sort of retroactively praise Selma more because it got so much shit. So, and since they couldn't go back and actually change the nominations, instead they took every opportunity they could possibly find to talk more and more about Selma. Like, they talked about Selma more than any other movie, even though it only won glory and that was it.
And it was completely political because the NAACP got on their ass.
Because Selma was better than they gave it credit for.